Chapter 47 begins with Baru sulking on the ground, worried about Suho, as it had already been weeks since he went missing and they still have no idea where he was. Seeing his condition, Essel asks Amut what they should do since Suho had been missing for 3 weeks now, and no one had been able to track his whereabouts ever since their fight with Lee Min-sung. Listening to their words, Amut also showed concern since he never expected Suho to go missing for so long either, and started fearing if he got himself into some kind of trouble. As they were still in the middle of their conversation, Gray noticed something happening inside the dungeon and turned to see what it was. Upon looking, they saw a portal had appeared behind them with a person stepping out, asking if all of them were doing well. Upon looking closer, they saw it was our hero. Suho was greeting all of them after he had managed to conquer the job change quest and made his way back into the Shadow Dungeon. Seeing how he finally returned to them after so long, Essel, Baru, and Gray started crying while Amut looked at him with pride since he believed in Suho's strength and knew he'd find a way through any obstacle. The scene shifts to Jinho and Chairman Woo Jinchul, who were worried sick about Suho as they had searched the whole city but weren't able to find a single clue that might lead them to Suho's whereabouts, despite using all the resources from the Hunters Association. And to make matters worse, Chairman Woo informs Jinho about the growing rumors around the Hunter Association regarding Suho, as many people suspect that Suho was the one behind the death of Lee Min-sung, after which he went into hiding, fearing that he might get caught. Hearing those words, Jinho springs up, his face red with anger, as he reminds Woo that they were talking about their Suho and tells him Suho would never commit murder. Seeing his expressions, Woo informs him he also believes that Suho wouldn't do anything like that either. He informs Jinho that he suspects that the murder of Lee Min-sung was related to the invader, the one known as the Apostle of Iterum, of whom Suho had mentioned to them in the past. Seeing how things were getting out of hand with each passing day, and now with Suho missing, Jinho shows concern for their world, since in his previous life, he wasn't able to do anything for Jinwoo, the one whom he called his brother, resulting in him fighting alone against all the enemies that threatened humanity. So this time, he will make sure that Suho doesn't have to fight alone like his father against the forces that threatened humanity once more. As they were still in the middle of their conversation, Woo saw his phone ringing. Looking at the screen, he sees that a dungeon break had occurred in the city and wondered what was going on, since these dungeon breaks are occurring quite frequently compared to in the past. The scene shifts to the city, where a bunch of lizard monsters were seen wreaking havoc in the city while the hunters try to stop their rampage, but the creatures were too powerful for them to handle on their own. Out of nowhere, one of the creatures attacks one of the hunters present in the location, who is a tank, and manages to break through his armor and lands a direct hit on his ribs. The creature's attack was so powerful that it managed to neutralize him in one hit, after which it turned towards the rest of the hunters while holding him in his hand as a trophy. Seeing how powerful these things were, the rest of the hunters instantly got on their guard while wondering what could have caused such a massive dungeon break to occur right in the middle of the city, and how did no one clear this gate sooner despite it being in such a populated area. In the distance was the cause of everything, the Apostle of Iterum himself, who was thinking how all this was getting boring now for him. But still, he had to do this if he wanted to get into the core of the Hunter Association, since he needed achievements and recognition from the public. And the fastest way to do that was causing chaos and fixing it later, which would drive more attention towards himself. Thinking over everything, he starts thinking that humans were strange creatures, as the only hunters who they remember are the ones who made headlines. And most of them don't even care or remember the names of the ones who rushed in first to save all of them from these monsters. Meanwhile, back on the streets, one of the hunters manages to land a powerful attack on one of the overgrown lizards and slices its face using his blade. The attack proved very effective as the creature instantly backed off while screaming in agony. This man is a D-rank hunter named Huang Jihyung, who was seen instructing the rest of the hunters to take cover behind him while he takes care of these monsters. Seeing how a B-rank hunter appeared so soon, the Apostle finds it annoying since he could cause trouble for his plans. So he decides to take care of him before he hogged all the glory for himself. Thinking that, he activates his ability and supercharges the creatures with mana, resulting in them going berserk. Before the poor guy could even react, the thing delivers a bone-crushing attack to his stomach and manages to shatter every single one of his ribs, and he gets launched away into the distance and crashes into a nearby wall. As the dust cleared, the remaining hunters saw his motionless body lying in the middle of the rubble and started wondering what could have caused these creatures' mana to suddenly spike like crazy. As they were still in the middle of their thoughts, all the creatures started charging towards him to finish him off before he could regain consciousness. While the rest of the hunters watched the grotesque scene in horror, knowing full well that after they are finished with him, they will come for them next. After a minute or so, the creatures fell silent, with only the stains of blood left on the ground, and they started to turn towards the rest of them. Seeing the creatures turning towards them, the remaining hunters started shivering in fear, while one of them recalled how in the past he got lucky since he got his hands on some free money, because of which he was able to get his leg fixed and even bought a weapon, thinking that he would be able to be a hunter once more. Looking at the gigantic creatures targeting him, he realizes that he was being too reckless trying to save people from these creatures despite being only a D-rank hunter. Thinking that, he closes his eyes, bracing for the worst, and fails to realize that a person ran past him straight towards the monsters. And before any one of them could even react, the man manages to break the face of one of the lizard monsters using nothing but his brute strength. The man opens his eyes to all the commotion and finds the creatures screaming in agony as the person shreds through their flesh with nothing but his fists, and after a couple of seconds, the place falls silent with the person landing in the middle of all the carnage. Upon looking closer, he sees that the person was wearing a black mask and instantly recognizes him, as he was the one who paid him the money for joining his team so he could enter inside the dungeon all by himself. He recalled that this person was supposed to be a D-rank hunter and wonders how that was possible, since he was handling all these powerful monsters all by himself and without even using a weapon. Meanwhile, our hero decides to test his newfound powers against the remaining monsters roaming around the city. Thinking that, he says the word rise and a shadow starts appearing from the bodies of all the defeated creatures, after which it starts making its way towards Suho and gradually starts spreading everywhere, shocking the onlookers as they see the darkness that was coming towards them as well. In the next second, all of them look at themselves in shock, as the darkness had taken the form of weapons and armor that was now covering their bodies. Seeing this, they started wondering what kind of skill this was which turned the defeated enemies into weapons. Baru was also shocked to see Suho do that, and asks if he was able to use shadow form transformation on others as well. But Suho informs him that wasn't the case, as this skill was different from transformation. Shadow transformation allowed him to change the shape of his shadows, but this skill converts the shadows into actual weapons with stats and ranks of their own. Using this ability, he had managed to create a spear named Shadow Naga Warrior Crescent Blade, which was a common grade weapon with 40 attack and 3 strength. The second item was Shadow Naga Warrior Bracers, also common rank, and was a hand armor with 15 defense and 2 vitality. And the third item was a Shadow Naga Warrior Sword, which was a rare grade item with attack power 55 and agility 5. With all that, the sword also possessed a skill called Pierce Enhancement, which allows the user to ignore 10% of enemy defense. Looking at everything, Baru was amazed since he managed to create items using his shadows, which was something that even their master Jinwoo had never done. Looking at the confidence on Suho's face, Baru realized that this was one of the powers Suho gained after his job change, and for some reason, he calls Suho the irregular white shadow. Turning towards the rest of the hunters, Suho asks them if they were able to fight and tells them to lend him their strength to take on these creatures. Meanwhile, on a nearby rooftop, the apostle was watching everything in silence, and seeing what Suho was capable of, he starts wondering what this power was that he was feeling from him now, since he has never seen anything like this before. And with a smirk on his face, realizes that he had gotten much more powerful compared to the last time he saw him. Back on the street, Suho, along with his army of weaklings, prepares to take on all the approaching creatures. The story shifts to India, inside the Azura Guild, and all of a sudden something gets launched into the wall of the building, and the place gets filled with a loud explosion. On the ground was Rio, completely beaten and on the brink of death, and was calling for Suho's name. Around him were the broken bodies of all the hunters from Azura Guild, as he apologizes to Suho for repaying his kindness in such a way. In the same building was another individual who was seen telling someone that the person who was suspected to kill their people was supposed to be in Korea. As the scene zooms out, we see it was Thomas Andre, who was informing Laura that he was heading to Korea to find this person. The scene shifts to the outside and we are shown a beautiful sky filled with clouds, and in the next second, everything changes as a massive gate appears in the sky. Underneath the gate was a female who was seen walking into the snow. I could be wrong here. And in the next second she appears in front of a massive dragon who looked suspiciously like Jinwoo's Kaisel. And the female looks like Hunter Cha. Okay, I'm excited for the next chapter now. If you are too, then hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any upcoming updates. Until next time, take care.